Thunderbird Pro. This has been in development for at least a couple of years now. And so Thunderbird Pro is basically a set of four different services that extend and enhance the Thunderbird experience. All of them are, as you would expect, privacy respecting and open source, and of course, made with love by the Thunderbird team.
Mhm.
So those four services, I'll tell you a little bit about them right now. The first one is our most mature service. It's been in development for at least 2 years, probably closer to 2.5 years, if I'm not mistaken. And what is it? It's basically the way that scheduling should work. Here's how we've developed it. You've got, you log into your appointment account and you're presented with a calendar view that's showing any connected calendars you've got. Right now, I've got a screenshot that's showing my Google Calendar. Though you can also connect this to, say, like a CalDAV calendar if you've got your own self-hosted Nextcloud instance, and it gives you the ability to set your open availability on your calendar, right? You might designate like, oh, 9 to 6 Monday through Friday, or 10 to 5 Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And then once you've set your details for your availability, you can click a handy little button to share your link, which you then send to anybody that you would like to meet with, right? You can send it via email, you might text it to them, whatever. If you're feeling fancy, you could add it to your signature in your email. When they click on it, they are then presented with a different kind of view of your calendar where it doesn't show them like the details of your meetings, but rather it's going to show all of the available slots within those time blocks that you've designated for like, yeah, I can meet at these times. They'll click one of these slots or several of them and then confirm like, yeah, I would like to request to meet with this person. And then after confirmation, you both get calendar invitations that then get added to your calendars. And that's it. It's a handful of clicks and you've met, as opposed to the usual back and forth of like, hey, is Tuesday good for you? You know, that it gets really old really fast. But with this, we just sort of cut through all of that. It is already in beta. And if you're listening to this and you've got a browser handy, you could go to appointment.day and sign up for the beta. We are opening up more and more beta slots every handful of weeks, just to make sure that, you know, we can handle the load of users and everything's running smoothly. What we've got coming up in the works next are some improvements, basically a makeover to the UI and the user experience. Some additional calendar integrations. I already mentioned Google Calendar and CalDAV, but we're aiming for other things like, you know, the oh so popular Apple Calendar integration and some more
Nice.
fine-grained availability settings.
Very cool. Very cool. Um, how many users do we have right now, out of curiosity?
I do not know the total number.
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
meant to find out, but I couldn't get those before we started.
Yeah, okay. That's fine. So this kind of if it's okay, I'm gonna ask we can ask
Yeah,
some questions before we go into the next
do
service.
it.
Um, this service sounds familiar for anyone that's like done job interviews, so, scheduling time with the recruiter. So, um, can you talk a little bit about who you envision this service being most useful for?
Yeah, we have a number of sort of user personas. I totally stole that term from our design team, that we're targeting, right? There is like the business person, like the person who works in a company has to meet with a lot of different people. That's your typical user. And we have several of those within Thunderbird who they just have full calendars and they need a better way to manage that. Some other personas that we've thought of include like small business owners. They don't have nearly the scale of meetings that, you know, somebody like the head of Thunderbird might have, but
Mhm.
still they would like to simplify scheduling. And a third user persona is just sort of your casual user who like maybe wants to get together with a friend and, they just don't want to play the back and forth game.
Makes sense. Yeah, it makes it much more efficient. Yeah.
All
Monica?
right. It is helpful if I take myself off of mute. Uh, so now we kind of saw a very brief kind of walkthrough of it. Now, will it send calendar invites or reminders automatically to both parties?
So at the moment, I don't think that there are reminders, but it will do the calendar invitations. So that is like upon confirmation, then both parties will receive the event invitations.
Okay, that's helpful. So it's just, I think like the fewer kind of manual steps that you have to do to make sure after you've made this appointment that both of you remember to go to do it. That's
Right.
helpful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that so for me, I use this just to schedule like pairing time with other engineers. Very handy for that. And by default, my calendar just adds reminders to all of my events. So it's very likely that people already have this feature enabled.
Nice. Thank you.
Very cool. Um, this sounds really exciting. You said that it's in like a closed beta state. When will it be opened up to everybody?
So this,
And what I think, did you mention that there was integration with like self-hosted calendar services?
yeah, yeah, yeah. That it will be like open when the rest of Thunderbird Pro launches. And so that's happening later this summer, right? We've got to get all of our ducks in a row and then we'll launch
Mm-hmm.
them together. Wow, I've got that duck, like little group of ducklings image in my head.
Mhm.
Um,
Right, same.
and and yeah, so late summer is when this will be released to the public for like a full open beta. As far as integration with other calendars, so yeah, if for users who are self-hosting any sort of a CalDAV server, the one that comes to mind is Nextcloud, but
Mhm.
because CalDAV is an open standard, there are lots of systems that just provide this. So yeah, you can not only can you use this with that calendar uh, that you're hosting yourself, that calendar server, you can even self-host appointment itself. So as
Yeah,
soon as,
we
go ahead. Yeah.
no, one of the people, I think it was The Verge or one of the first people who reviewed Appointment, they tested the self-hosted Docker installation, which was great.
Amazing.
Cool. Nice. Monica?
Uh, yeah, so making sure we were all finished with that. But I think we know this well at Thunderbird, working across international time zones where you have people in very different countries from you. How does Appointment handle time zones for people who are booking things with somebody who is hours different from them?
It does so very well and very carefully.
That's
Um,
good.
any anybody who anybody who's done any like if you've built a project, if you've done any coding and you've had to deal with dates and times and calendars, it's such a pain. But the services team, I can't take credit for this. A couple of the other engineers, Melissa particularly, worked on this and made it so that the like localization works properly. Like when you are
Hmm.
viewing time slots, somebody else's time slot is localized to your own. So, for example, I'm on the East Coast, Melissa is on the West Coast, and I make sure to pick slots that, are still good for me and for her. And it's not, it's not weird for me to do. I don't have to do any like time math because the interface takes care of it for me.
That's good. Time math is the worst.
It's so bad. Why?
Especially like with daylight savings. Come on, what is this?
Oh my gosh, those like 2 or 3 weeks where everybody's off from each other. Oh yeah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Um, what about privacy? How is my availability data stored and protected?
All of that is encrypted. So any uh, when I first joined the project and I was looking at the code, I'm used to using the stack that we're using to manage the database. But instead of seeing like the oh so familiar string and number fields, like everything's an encrypted field. So
Nice.
it's it's protected at the framework level, at the database level. So like if you if something weird happened and we need to investigate it, it's like we have limited visibility into the details of your appointment data. Like we have, we're doing appropriate logging so we can see that something weird happened, but we have no idea like what is going on with your calendar, your events or anything. All of that remains private for you.
Great. That's wonderful and reassuring.
Excellent. Now, can people who don't use Thunderbird still book appointments with you via appointment?
Yes, they can. And the reason why is that Appointment was originally built and still exists as a web app primarily. I mean, it is just this website, appointment.day, and that's your currently the main and only interface for Appointment. So yeah, you don't have to be a Thunderbird user in order to use Appointment.
Excellent.
Okay. What would you say the overall reception has been for Thunderbird appointment?
Uh, we do know, so even though I don't have the exact numbers, I can tell you that there are people who've been eager for us to open up the next batch and the next batch of invitations, which has been so encouraging. And also, on the other side of that is it's not just people who are like, oh, I want to check out appointment.day. I want to use appointment. Monica, as you mentioned, there's the person who, who published the article who also investigated self-hosting. On the first day, we got our first contributor who also was interested in self-hosting. So not only did they start contributing to the code, but they helped, improve the documentation around self-hosting because there were maybe a few details that we didn't include. So the
That is
community itself has
amazing.
been super involved, which is awesome.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
wonderful.
it's so nice to see people who become users who just make that switch to contributors, and we'll talk more about that, about how to do that. Now, we've been talking a bit about the calendar UI lately. Now, will appointment eventually integrate into the Thunderbird calendar directly?
That is a very good question. It's kind of up for discussion, right? There's the where do you focus your engineering time? Do we want to make it more Thunderbird centric? Do we want to make sure that it's as open and available as possible? And I think that currently we're leaning towards uh, leaving it as a web app. People can host. They don't have to be Thunderbird users. Um,
Mhm.
so that's kind of TBD, but I think that for now it's just going to remain, sort of this companion to Thunderbird as opposed to in
Mhm.
Thunderbird.